Today you've heard about the Nightingale Challenge, but I've got the NIPEC Challenge. I get to talk to you after that incredibly healthy lunch that we've all just had, and I'm going to talk about strategy. So that's perhaps going to kind of stretch all of us a little bit, but I will try and fight your natural bodily tendencies to have a snooze and hopefully keep you interested and entertained while I do that. So what I wanted to start off with, though, was just to reflect. As Rodney says, we are frequent visitors in Northern Ireland from the Nursing and Midwifery Council. We are a four-country regulator, and it is incredibly important to us that we work with you and with our partners across all four countries of the UK. And we love coming to Northern Ireland. I particularly loved coming to Northern Ireland for the launch of the Future Midwife standards. So we did a launch event in each of the four countries, and we started in Northern Ireland, and you can see the picture, if you can see this on your right-hand side of the screen, is all of the students that we had from the university who came to the launch. I have never seen anybody be so organised in terms of creating a beautiful picture as the people from Northern Ireland, in terms of getting everybody knelt down and in a perfect semicircle. So Northern Ireland kicked off our Future Midwife events really, really well. But I was also here last year with NIPEC talking about our shared common interests, and I'll touch on that in a moment. And I'd also like to introduce to you, we have one of our executive directors, so they have other things that I expect them to do as well, but each of them have a responsibility for one of the four countries. And Edward Welsh, who is in the middle of the room, is the executive director for Northern Ireland. And what that means is that he's even more upset than I am that Flybe collapsed last week, because it's not just my flight this week that we've had to change, but it's his normal route that he's going to have to change from coming across to Northern Ireland on a regular basis. And he's sat next to Sue West, who is one of our senior nursing advisors, who has been leading on the Future Nurse standards implementation. So if anybody's got any really specific, knotty questions about that, she's the expert, not me. But all three of us and our colleague Emma Broadbent, who leads on our registration and revalidation and has a really good link with Ulster University and the work that we're doing with them, again have been over here recently to look at the test centre there and to learn about the work there. And we're coming again later on in the year, because each year we take our council meeting to a different place, and we are going to be having it in Derry in September. It is a public meeting, and you are very welcome to come and join us at that meeting. I love it when we go outside of London, because we get a different audience and we get different questions raised with us throughout the day. So please take advantage of that too. I mentioned that I would share some of those shared interests that we've got with NIPEC, with Northern Ireland and the Nursing and Midwifery Council. And of course, you know better than I do some of the workforce challenges, the impact potentially of Brexit. I did these slides before coronavirus had really taken hold, but we might have added that one in as well, in terms of how we work together to respond to the issues that nurses and midwives have to cope with on a day-to-day basis. And working together is so very, very important to us. And at this point, I would just like to pay tribute to your chief nurse, Charlotte McArdle, who I think has been doing a fantastic job. What we've highlighted on this slide is the role that she played in leading on professionalism in nursing and midwifery practice, which predated me, but she's continued in that leadership role, not just in Northern Ireland, but working with us at the Nursing and Midwifery Council as well. And Charlotte, thank you very, very much. Thank you. And I also wanted just to mention the work that's obviously happening in Northern Ireland to take forward the implementation of the Future Nurse and the Future Midwife standards. And that is just so very, very important. And I was waiting for it, and I was waiting for it, and then Caroline did do it in her fabulous presentation this morning about midwifery, past, present and future, highlighting the importance of the Future Midwife standards and what a difference they're going to make. And we were incredibly fortunate because you were launching Nursing Now at the same time as we were doing the Future Midwife launch. So Fran Conville from the World Health Organization actually came to that launch. And one of the things that she said was that these were standards which were going to change midwifery practice across the whole world, not just in the UK, which was great. And we already know that other countries are using those standards to inform the development of their practice as well. So we are leading the way, and you are helping us to do that. So I took up post at the Nursing and Midwifery Council in January 2019, and I was incredibly lucky because we were just approaching the final year of our current strategy. So it meant that as I was going around all 4 countries into the different settings that nurses and midwives work, I could talk to people about what the NMC meant to them, what they thought that we should be doing, how they thought that we could improve, what they liked about what we were doing. And it meant that I was able to take that insight and information into the development of our strategy. And we, as much as your task group, as Sir Richard said this morning, has worked in co-production with people, we have worked in co-production with people from across all 4 countries, nurses, midwives, the public, our partners, to develop the strategy. And thousands of people have got involved. And it's great that that has been the case, and particularly people have got involved in Northern Ireland. And if any of you have been at those round tables, or you've responded to the surveys, or commented in our Twitter chats, or any of those sorts of things, can I just say thank you, because you have helped us to develop a strategy that I think nursing and midwifery can be proud of, not just the Nursing and Midwifery Council. And it's going to be fantastic when we get to April, when we've agreed it, for us to launch it in the International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife. This year of celebration, I mean, I can't talk it up any better than Catherine did this morning. What a fantastic presentation that was. But it's a great opportunity for us to be really positive about what we do as the regulator for nurses and midwives, working alongside of all of you, and importantly remembering that this is for the people who are using services, using health and social care services. What we do and what you do matters to every citizen in the UK. All of us will have somebody in our family or our friendship circle who today will be supported by a nurse or a midwife. So what we do in setting those standards, supporting you to do the job that you do, absolutely really matters. So what I'm going to give you today is a little bit of a sneak preview. It's a bit dangerous, this, because in 2 weeks' time we go to the council meeting where they've got to approve it. And so if you could all send positive vibes towards London on the 25th of March, I'd be really very grateful. So forgive me if any of the details of this change, but hopefully I can give you a good insight into what we're going to be doing. Now, when I go out and I talk to nurses and midwives about the NMC, and I said, well, what does the NMC mean to you? And they generally start off with £120 a year, and what do I get for it? And the best one was an A&E nurse in Liverpool who did that to me. I just leave that to your imagination. But the second thing they also say is, we're scared of you. We're scared of you because actually you have the ability to take away our livelihoods because we of fitness to practice. And I have to say that I don't think making more than 700,000 people scared of their regulator is the way to deliver great care. And so what we wanted to have was a much richer and deeper conversation with nurses and midwives. And as you can see from this slide, there was an awful lot more that people wanted to say to us about what the Nursing and Midwifery Council could and should do. They want us to do the day job well. You want us to do the day job well. But you also want us to do more. You want us to highlight those issues that actually mean that you may not have the time to deliver the care that you want to deliver. They want us to support professionals. The public particularly want us to support professionals in delivering good care. Folk want us to promote a better understanding of the professions. And I think one of the things that you have demonstrated today in this conference so very, very well is the rich diversity of the roles and the different settings that nurses and midwives work in. And I think that one of the things that we've got to do at the NMC is respond to that really positively. People want us to be more visible and more engaged, and so that's obviously one of the reasons why we're hot-footing it over to Northern Ireland on the regular basis that we are. But they also want us to understand the context in which people are working. And, for example, the changes that technology is going to bring. There will be something that is happening in 2025, which today we have no idea about. We don't know that it's going to change the practice that you're taking forward, and we need to be ready and nimble for that. But the only way that that's going to happen is if we understand the context in which you are working. So this is the sneak preview, and as I say, I'm crossing my fingers here that some of these words don't change. So our vision for the future is that there is safe, effective, kind nursing and midwifery practice. And absolutely critically, that is so that everybody's health and well-being is improved. And I think that this fits so beautifully with some of the messages that you've already heard today from your Minister and from Sir Richard about the task group and the promotion of health and well-being in terms of the role of the nurse and the midwife in health promotion and in public health. Those things are core to the future nurse and future midwife standards as well, and we need to see that as the reason why we do what we do. But the purpose that we have and the purpose that is set for us in our legislation is about promoting and upholding the highest professional standards. And in that way, protecting the public, making sure that they are getting the safest, best care possible, but also promoting public confidence in the professions. And, frankly, folks should just come along and listen to some of the people that you're listening to today to have that confidence in the professions. But we've got a role to do that too. Our strategy for the next 5 years is going to be based on 3 fundamental things. The first is that we are here to regulate. It doesn't sound sexy, it doesn't sound necessarily the best topic for an after lunchtime talk, but it's absolutely critical to the nursing and midwifery practice across the UK. And it was interesting, one of the conversations I had with Catherine and colleagues last week at the Commonwealth Nurses Conference was the experience that some people have had of going into countries where they don't have regulation. And actually, when they go to somewhere where there isn't regulation, they come back and think we're a good thing. Because we are maintaining a register, so you know that the nurse and the midwife that you're employing actually has the right to be able to do that job. You know that there are robust professional and educational standards that are underpinning that practice. You know that we're assuring those education programmes, and you know that if there is a concern, that we will look into that and we will do that in a fair and proportionate way. But we also need to be doing this in a way that is supportive to you as professionals, but is also supportive to our partners and to the public that we all serve. So that bit about providing a better understanding of the professions and our role, providing better practical tools to help you embed those standards, which we've talked about already, and also making sure that we're providing emotional and practical support for people in whatever way they're engaging with us, whether that is an overseas registrant kind of battling with the bureaucracy, or whether it's somebody who's wondering how to go about their revalidation, a registrant who's been referred into our fitness to practice, or a member of the public who has experienced poor care and wants to make that referral. All of these people deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and we need to make sure that we're putting the right things in place for that. And if we regulate well, and if we support well, then we can do the third thing. We can influence. We can add value through the voice that we have, amplifying your voice around what matters to nurses and midwives across the UK. And that's all about promoting the positive, inclusive working environments that you want to be experiencing. It's also about us sharing our data and our insight into the people that are on the register, why they might come off, what are the issues that get referred to us in fitness to practice, to help actually improve the services and the care that everybody can provide. So over the next 5 years, we are going to focus our efforts in 5 key areas. So the improvement and innovation is all about us doing the day job well, making sure that we're absolutely being the best possible regulator, learning from overseas, learning from our mistakes, learning from what goes well. We want to be visible, we want to be better informed, so we're going to really strengthen the relationship that we have with the 4 countries, but also with people at a local level, both employers and educators, to make sure that we absolutely are taking our regulatory functions forward in a way that is appropriate. We want to provide proactive support to everybody across the nursing and midwifery professions so that you really can embed those standards. And one of the things that we're going to do is really promote that whole idea of us shaping professional practice to support you in the work that you do. The empowering and the engaging aspect of this is really about how we work with the public, how we make sure that they understand what we do, and also what we don't do, and that they can engage with that and they can shape our work. Because if we're here to serve the public, we cannot do it if we're not listening to their voices and we're not enabling them to actually engage with us in an appropriate way. And last but not least, that point about insight and influence, using our voice. And we've talked this morning about workforce planning and the importance of that. We can use the information that we have, the data on our register, to help inform those things going forwards. And we absolutely want to. Many of you will know the phrase, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And the strategy is important. Don't get me wrong, we've worked really hard on making sure that we've got a strategy that we can be proud of and that we can share with you. But it's how we do these things that will be really very, very important. And that's the cultural point. And how we do it is absolutely underpinned by the values that we have and the behaviours that are driven by those values. And as well as working on the strategy, we've also been talking about what should our values be for the next 5 years. And these are the ones that we've come up with. And I'm really pleased to say that after lots of debate, we've landed on this now. And it's been crystal marked in terms of the detail behind it. So it ain't changing again. Our Director of Resources in one very famous meeting when we were only on version 21, we're actually currently at version 29, he did say at one point, couldn't we make decisive one of our values? Because this is torture. But anyway, it's worth getting it right because this is really important. And what our 4 values will be about fairness, will be about making sure that that is at the heart of us being a trusted and credible employer and regulator. And that you can see that in the way that we're transparent, in the way that we share information, the way that we support you. But we also want to be kind. And people have challenged, not just within the organisation, but beyond. How can a regulator be kind? Well, frankly, you don't want us to be unkind. You do want us to treat people with dignity and respect. You do want us to have empathy with the people who are working with us in terms of what their situation is and what they're going through. And it's going to be really very important for us to actually think about how we treat people and how we respond to people, and that kindness driving our work. You've talked quite a bit already today about the multidisciplinary team, and we are very conscious that just as nurses and midwives don't work in single little isolated islands, neither does the Nursing and Midwifery Council. And it's really very important that we collaborate within the organisation across the different teams, but with our partners, with the professionals on our register, with the public, so that we can work together to be more than the sum of all of our parts. And that collaboration is going to be absolutely critical. And it's been very important, for example, as we've been looking at the coronavirus response, that nurses and midwives aren't expected to do something different from us as their regulator to what the doctors are being asked to do from the General Medical Council as their regulator. So working together to agree a joint statement around that has been one of the things that we've already done. And the final thing that we want to be is ambitious. And it's being ambitious about being the best regulator that we can be, making sure that the people who work at the NMC can achieve their potential. But it's also being ambitious about the nurses and the midwives and nursing and midwifery as a profession, and making sure that we really take the energy that we've got from this fabulous year of celebration in terms of the International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife, and take that forward over the next 5 years to really, really make a difference. Obviously, coming backwards and forwards to Northern Ireland, I get to hear the safety demonstration on British Airways, Aer Lingus, and it used to be Flybe, on a very regular basis. And there's a very important point that they make, which is, if the oxygen mask falls down, please put your own one on first before you try and help somebody else. And there is something very important for the NMC about making sure that we are a fit for the future organisation, so that we can help you and help to deliver on all of those ambitions. So there's going to be a fundamental bit of this strategy which is about us getting ourselves sorted out and organised within the NMC, making sure that people want to work with us, that we've got the best people possible who are doing those really important jobs, that we have the technology that means that we can use the information that we've got to share that in terms of the insight and influence that we want to have. And that we're organised in a way that actually means that we're not working in silos and we're not kind of duplicating things all over the place. So there's a lot for us to do internally as well, which will be there. So as I say, this is a strategy which will be approved, fingers crossed, good following wind, all of your good positive vibes coming to London on the 25th of March. And we will start April by launching our new organisational design, and we will launch the strategy formally towards the end of April with a breakfast in London, and we'll also be coming out to Northern Ireland to host a dinner with people in Northern Ireland to talk about it there too. It's a strategy for 5 years. So one of the really important things about that is not everything that you would like us to do is going to happen in 2020. I'm really very sorry. But the key thing is that if we take the time to do this well, then we will do it right. If we rush at it and we try and do too much too quickly, the only thing I can guarantee is that we'll fall over and we'll get it wrong. So it is a 5-year strategy, and we will be pacing ourselves to make sure that we can truly deliver on the ambitions that people have set for us through the consultation that we've had. Now, unfortunately, I thought that Maura would be with us today, so this little tribute is in absentia, but I did just want to mention that the Council, not only do we have Edward leading on making sure that from an executive point of view, we have insight about what's happening in Northern Ireland round the table, But we also have a council member who has to come from Northern Ireland. And you have been blessed, I have to say, by having Maura Devlin as the person doing that on behalf of Northern Ireland for the last few years. And her term is coming to an end. And I just wanted to share with you, because this is going to be probably my last opportunity to do this in an audience as big as this before Maura steps down, just to thank her and to say it's been brilliant. I've only worked with her for a short time, but it has been fantastic. She's obviously got fabulous judgment because she was on my appointments panel. So I'm feeling particularly indebted to Maura. But we will be announcing Maura's replacement shortly. Unfortunately, as Chief Executive, I don't get to choose who gets to be on the council and hold me to account. So if you want to ask me who it is, I'm not able to tell you. But we will be doing that very shortly, and we will miss Maura desperately, but I'm sure we will have an absolutely fabulous person instead. So I've managed, I think, to keep to time so that there are some times for questions. I'd just like to thank you so much for your commitment, for listening today, and for all of the work that we are collectively going to do together over the next 5 years. Thank you all very much.